everyone probably knows this is Azusa Barbie.
Hi.
And she is awesome. And in a previous tutorial, I started rerouting a silk stone, and I didn't know if it was going to work. And so it was a total experiment. Everything I did on her was an experiment, so it was like kind of scary. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll make one that looks like Azusa. It probably won't work, but I'll try. And after, a lot of experimenting and crazy ideas, I think I figured it out. But we'll see what Azusa thinks.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. Wow. Wait. How did you do it? This is so cute. Oh my god.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna zoom in.
I love her. Oh my god.
In case you don't know who Azusa Barbie is, she is this Barbie collector in West Hollywood who's really creative. So she's always making things and cooking things. Really fun to watch. Check out her YouTube channel. We met last year at the Barbie convention, and I really wanted to try to see if I could make her in Barbie form. Her base reroute is a combination of 3 tutorials already on the channel: how to reroute a silkstone, how to reroute bangs, and how to do pigtails. When I went to braid her buns, I did not like how they looked, as you can see in that photo. I'm not aware of any tutorials where they actually have all of the hair up in buns. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to figure this out. It's going to be highly experimental. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know if it'll work. So I totally invite you to try this. This is not for the faint of heart. Either high skill level or very adventurous and a ton of patience. I've used a flat iron to style her hair into 2 high pigtails. Make sure to remove the rubber bands just in case, because we don't want them to get stuck in place. I am actually using Galaxy glue, which we carry in our store, and I am very lightly painting it into her hair. Because this is a water-based glue, it's going to dry clear on most colors. If you're using black, it's not going to dry clear. Don't use it on black. And I'm doing this to guarantee that her hair will stay in place regardless of what I do to her buns. So this is a permanent hairstyle. You cannot take it out and do something different with this. So you definitely want to get good coverage on both sides of the head. Give it about an hour to dry before you start messing with her hair. Once dry, I put a rubber band back in and start combing her hair with the fine-tooth metal comb, which you can purchase from our store. I actually divide it into slightly less than half. The larger half I'm putting to the side, just gonna clip over there for a while. We'll get to it later. And so here is the super easy part. Okay, we're gonna just start with a really tight braid. I actually got it damp first, just to make sure that I would get it nice and tight. And then I added a small rubber band at the end to make sure it would stay in place. Comb through the rest of the hair and actually divide it in half. I don't have that on film for some reason, but it's really important. The centerpiece is gonna stay next to the ponytail, and the piece that is farthest in the back, that is what you're going to use to start wrapping around both the braid and the center piece of hair, starting from the back and twisting around forward, going underneath the 2 sections of hair and then up and around. I hope that makes sense. As you can see, I've used some rubber bands to hold it in place because she has a hard head. Otherwise, I would use pins. Straight pins work great when you're styling a doll that has a softer head. Okay, so now that I'm holding the middle section firmly, I'm actually going to take some scissors and cut it really short. This is the kind of scary part. It is, however, necessary, and this is how you get the volume out of the hair so she doesn't have those big redonkulous Princess Leia buns like in that earlier photo. I continue wrapping the hair around and using more rubber bands to help support the bun. I think I used at least 5. It doesn't really matter how many you use because you're going to take them all out anyway, so if you need to use 20, that's totally fine. You want to wrap the bun around her head as tight and as smooth as you can, one full time. If you do it any more than that, then you're going to get a whole bunch of volume and those big gaudy buns. And so once it is all the way around, make sure to keep it tight. And once again, to get rid of that extra volume, I'm gonna cut that. Okay, now we've got a bun shape going, and now we're gonna do something a little crazy. I put a rubber band around her head to reinforce her buns so that they're exactly in the place I want them to be. After that, you're gonna put a small baggie over her head as tight as you can, and then tie a fuzzy tie around her neck. I call this the suffocation method because to me, that's exactly what it looks like. So you take your heating pad on high, and you're gonna wrap her up really tight and let her sit for at least 30 minutes. I usually wait an hour just to be sure. So after I've removed it from the heating pad, see how her hair is laying much closer to her head? I'm going to carefully trim away any excess that is hanging off of her main bun. I rubber band the bun one more time and trim just a little bit more hair off just for good measure. And try to smooth it out the best I can. And then here's where the transformation takes place. We're going to take that braid that we started with, and I'm going to wrap that around the bun. I'm going to use a straight pin and just pin the braid in place, and then trim the leftover hair from the braid, and I'm going to put her back in the heating pad using the same technique as I did earlier with the plastic bag. However, you want to quickly pull her out of the heating pad while her head is still somewhat soft, so then you can use that straight pin to actually stick it into her head. And I'm actually going to leave that straight pin there. So we're back with the Galaxy glue, because now that I got that bun just how I want it to look, I don't want that moving. So just as before, carefully paint on a light coat of Galaxy glue. As you can see, there's some flyaway hairs. Don't worry too much about that. You can trim those and it won't even be noticeable. Really quick, I wanted to mention that you should do both buns at the same time. I didn't do that because I wasn't even sure if the method I was using would work, but I made the mistake of trying to recreate it after having done the entire bun, and the first mistake I made was wrapping the braid in the wrong direction. And so in doing so, I got less than symmetrical buns, which kind of bothered me. So definitely do the steps at the same time to both sides of the head. I made sure to skip over gluing the rubber band from the braid, so then I was able to pull it out and it looks nice and smooth. Now for the fun part. Doing the roots was actually one of the easiest things. I used some pastels, and I started with an applicator by applying brown because I didn't want it to be too harsh. And then I realized the brown wasn't dark enough. And so instead of using just brown, I used black in the center and then used the brown kind of as a gradient to fade out. But then I realized the applicator wasn't fine enough. And so I was like, duh. And I got a brush because that's what I have a ton of. These applicators are kind of awkward. I found the brush much easier, and it lets you get really deep into the crevices and right along the hairline, which is of course what you want when you're doing roots. And so you basically just go in wherever you know that roots would be visible, and you just shade them in. Because she has the galaxy glue in her hair, it actually stayed perfectly. I didn't have to add any hairspray or sealant or anything. It was fantastic. And I didn't deal with any of the pastel smudging in her hair. Some of the pastel residue did fall on the body, and so I had to clean that up. So I would recommend to just wrap the doll in a towel so that you don't have to deal with that. For her bangs, I wanted to have more of a gradient since her bangs are more prevalent. And so I actually added quite a bit of brown and just a little bit of black on the top to give her roots a little more dimension. The finishing touch is those adorable curls that she has in the front. I actually use a pencil, so I call these pencil curls, to wrap the hair around the pencil. I use a pencil because it's made of wood, and so it can handle the heat. And I use my flat iron and just really quickly put some heat on it, and there you go. Like, it's that easy. And she is done. I'm so surprised and amazed that that actually worked. I love making gifts for people, and it was really awesome to be able to give Azusa this doll that I made her. This is actually a very personal thing that I did, and so that's why I kind of struggled putting this tutorial together, since I tend to not be that personal on the tutorials, mainly because I don't want to bore you guys. So this tutorial was different for a lot of different reasons, and if you do like this tutorial and want to see more like it that are instructional but also a little personal, please let me know in the comments so I can know to create tutorials that you guys are going to find interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.